Hello, we're here to talk today about how to write a CV. And a couple of assumptions are, first of all, is that if you are the person who needs a CV, these are what we usually find in the academic community or the academy here, at least in the United States, people who teach at academic institutions and those sorts of things, as opposed to a corporate resume. So these, I'll say writing one can be not the same as writing a dissertation, but fairly close to it in that there are a lot of different elements. So what I'd like to do is show you, at least today at a high level, some of the elements that are in a CV of today, and hopefully these will help you as you work on writing your CV. So as you might expect at the top, we usually put it as a header, curriculum vitae, or course of life, as you all know from Latin, and name and address, the institution that you're currently associated with or were last associated with, and then a summary of qualifications. And essentially what this paragraph is designed to do is to give the reader a fairly rapid sense of just who you are with respect to your field of study, your particular discipline and expertise and knowledge, and where your interests are. Again, it's not an entire exposition of everything that you've done, but when you consider that a resume reader has a lot to read, and some CVs can go to 30 pages or so, you do really want to give somebody, call it a reason to read further in your resume. This would also include your major strengths, research interests, and again, your specific experience, but again, in a general way. Underneath that would be your education, obviously typically starting with PhD at the top, the title of your dissertation, and then other graduate degrees, and then undergraduate degrees, and the years in which you got those degrees. We would also want to see university teaching and administration, particular posts that you've held either as a teacher or an administrator in an institution of higher learning, and the duties and responsibilities associated with that position and what you did in that position. Were you able to attract more students, whatever sorts of, within those responsibilities, key accomplishments, or what we call them, that might have occurred in your time there. The next section we would want to see is courses that you might have designed and taught. And some of you, of course, have done quite a few of those, and those typically they can relate to your field of research interest as well. And then additional academic teaching experience that you've had at your most recent or current educational institution or previous educational institutions should be included as well. And some of you have had some public school teaching experience as well, so we would want to see that as just to give the person a complete idea. We are looking for a continuous timeline from your undergraduate degree all the way through, so you do want to make sure there are no gaps there, or at least have some explanation for those gaps. Awards and honors are very important to include as well, of course. Any grants or stipends that you've received as part of your research, as part of your teaching activities, anything that's happened to you as a result of that, you certainly want to put on your resume. They're very important. Any awards, they don't have to be a dollar award or a stipend. They can just be a paper award as well, or a listing in a national publication or a local publication. And as we all know, publications are a very, very important part of the academic life. So you would want to put all of your publications in which you were the sole author or a co-author in peer-reviewed journals and academic journals or magazines, whatever the source, include the article, the reference, of course. Conferences that you've attended, and if you've spoken at the conference, then obviously most of you have attended more conferences than you've spoken at, so you don't need to include everyone, but certainly include those conferences at which you have spoken. And disciplinary texts that you've reviewed, obviously within your discipline on behalf of other writers. Any graduate student advisement and teaching experience, of course, is very important. And academic service that you've done, memberships. I'll go fairly quickly through these last few here because they're fairly standard. I know most of you have seen these before. Some of you may have some business and professional work experience, either as consultants or prior to entering your academic career. You would want to put that here. Public service fundraising, if you've done that, and any professional development that you've taken, languages that you speak, and then your credentials. And your credentials can either be on the resume as a part of it, or you can also link to a server these days too, which is increasingly popular because a lot of resumes actually are read by machine these days at both the academic and the corporate levels. So having your dossier, your references and credentials on a server is another very good way to make sure that it gets there more effectively than sometimes a hand-delivered copy. And that are the basic essentials of how to write a CV in today's world. And I thank you for your attention.